the autumn leaves of red and gold.
Hi everybody, do you know what happened yesterday? It was the first day of fall, and I want to read this book, I Love Fall. Do you love fall? I do. It's fall. What will baby see? What is in the basket? Here are a soft fluffy hat and a scarf. Sometimes in the fall it starts to get cooler and we have to dress a little warmer. There is something behind the shutters. What can it be? A yummy apple pie. Oh, it smells so good. What do you see behind the rake? Can you guess? Look, some crunchy acorns. When I was walking the other day at the nature center, there were a lot of acorns on the ground. Something is in the apple tree. What can it be? Squeak, squeak. It's a furry squirrel. We have lots of squirrels around my house. What's behind the silly scarecrow? Oh, 3 giant orange pumpkins. Yeah, pretty soon it'd be time to carve our jack-o'-lanterns. And what's behind the barn? A huge pile of leaves to jump in. Whee! That's so much fun to do. I love fall. Why do leaves change colors? Did you ever think about that? Why do leaves change colors? Look at the leaves. It's autumn and leaves are turning red and yellow, gold and brown. Each type of tree has its own kind of leaves. The colors of autumn leaves differ from tree to tree. Some oak leaves may be brown or yellow, while maple leaves may turn bright red. Leaves come in different sizes and shapes as well as colors, and some leaves are wide and others are narrow. Some have points while others may be rounded. How many different kinds can you find? This is a white oak, a black birch, a silver maple, a Norway maple, a gray birch, a red oak, and this is a sassafras leaf. Look at all those different types of leaves you could find. Just a few weeks ago, all the leaves were green. Back in the spring, the tiny new leaves uncurled from their buds. The green color in the leaves helped them to absorb or hold sunlight. Chlorophyll gives the leaves their green coloring. Can you say chlorophyll? Chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is a natural coloring called a pigment. And this shows the inside of a leaf, and that's what chlorophyll looks like if you could actually see it. Leaves are very important to the tree. They make a kind of sugar that is the tree's food. Leaves need sunlight, water, and air to make this food. The leaves work to feed the tree all summer long, and the sugar is used by all parts of the tree: the leaves, branches, trunk, and roots. The food, or sugar, helps the tree to grow, and extra sugar is stored in the leaves. In the fall, many things are changing. In many places, there is a change in the weather. There are changes in light and temperature, and inside the leaves there will be many changes too. All of these changes bring about the beautiful colors of fall. In the fall, there are fewer hours of sunlight each day, and the change in light tells the tree to get ready for winter. Winter is a time of rest for the tree. When winter comes, the tree will have to survive with less water and sunlight. The tree begins to get ready for its winter rest. It needs very little food now, and the leaves stop their work. The life of the leaves is almost at an end, and the tree no longer needs them. When the leaves die, they will fall from the tree. This will happen slowly over a number of weeks. As the leaves begin to separate from the tree, they get less water. Without water, the leaves cannot make new chlorophyll. Remember that word? Chlorophyll. The old chlorophyll begins to fade, and the green color starts to disappear. Now other colors can be seen in the leaves. Other pigments have been in the leaves all along, but they were hidden by the dark green of the chlorophyll. Once the green color fades, the yellow and orange pigments can be seen. These pigments give color to the leaves of birches, poplars, and elms. Some foods, like bananas and carrots, get their natural yellow and orange coloring from these same pigments. They also give color to some flowers. Maybe you can think of some. I'm sure you could. Autumn leaves have other colors as well. The yellows and oranges have been in the leaves all along, and other pigments are made as the leaves begin to die. These new pigments are made from the extra sugar stored in the leaves, and sunlight causes the stored sugar to change to pigment. The new pigments make some leaves turn red, rust, or purple. The more sugar there is, the brighter the colors will be. Bright days and cool nights seem to bring out the best fall colors. Oh, it's so much fun to find colored leaves. Maple leaves get their red color from these new pigments. Many flowers and some foods, such as beets and radishes, get their color from these red pigments. The brilliant red of sumac leaves shows up only in the fall when these pigments form. Some trees, like oaks, make tannin in the fall. Tannin is not a pigment, but it does color the leaves. Some oak leaves turn a rich brown color in autumn. See if you can find some. You may still be able to see some green colorings too. The changing color of autumn leaves is caused by changes in weather and light. This is why the colors are not the same every year. The best leaf colors usually come with lots of bright sunshine and crisp, clear nights. Too much rain may make the colors dull. An early frost may kill the leaves too soon. Evergreen trees like pines and spruces keep their leaves all year, but in cold climates, other trees must lose their leaves to survive in winter. And this is something I like doing. You find leaves, you put it between paper, and you take a crayon and you rub over it, and you can see the shape of the leaf with all of its veins, and it's just fun to do. After the leaves have changed color, they are ready to separate from the tree. When they are just barely hanging on, a little bit of wind or rain will make them fall to the ground, and in a short time the tree will look bare. Piles of dead leaves collect under the tree, and some will blow away, others will be raked up, and the leaves that are left will begin to rot. Over time, they will become part of the soil. Rotting leaves enrich the soil with minerals the tree needs to stay healthy. But sometimes raking can be a lot of work. When the last leaves have fallen, the tree is ready for winter. During the cold weather, the tree will be dormant or resting. Can you say that word? Dormant. It means it's resting. New leaf buds have already formed. Next spring, they will open and begin to make food for the tree. But now in fall, it's time to enjoy the colors of the leaves. Beautiful autumn foliage can be seen everywhere. Only some places, such as New England, have displays of many colors. This is because the weather conditions there are usually just right, and there are so many different kinds of trees. It can be so beautiful to travel someplace like that. Fall is a time to have fun with leaves. It's a time to take in the sights and sounds of the leaves. It's a time for jumping into the great pile of leaves, and then sometimes a time for raking them up. Fall is a time to get ready for winter. The trees are ready. Are you? What a great book about fall. And I'm going to read another chapter about Abraham Lincoln. Chapter 4, The Great Debater. What brought Lincoln back to politics was the Kansas-Nebraska Act of 1854. For a long time, Americans had been arguing about slavery. Should it be legal? And if so, where? In 1820, Missouri had become a state. Slavery was legal there. At that time, Congress had declared that this was as far north as slavery could go. In any land north of the Missouri border, slavery would never be allowed. Then in 1854, Congress went back on that decision. The Kansas-Nebraska Territory was north of the border, limiting slavery. But now Congress said that when the territory became two separate states, the people there could decide about slavery. They could make it legal if they had wanted. Had Congress broken its promise? Abolitionists, people who were fighting to make slavery illegal, thought so. They hated the Kansas-Nebraska Act. Lincoln did too, even though he was not exactly an abolitionist. He hated slavery and wanted it to end, but he thought the Constitution said slavery was legal in the United States. He was afraid that if Congress tried to force slave owners to give up their slaves, it would lead to violence. And so, although slavery went against his own values, he supported the legal rights of slave owners. Lincoln thought slavery could end another way. He thought slavery should only be allowed in the part of the United States where it was already legal, but it should not be allowed in any new territory. Then it would die out in time. People would come to see that slavery was bad for the country. They would be willing to end it without fighting. To Lincoln, the Kansas-Nebraska Act was a terrible step in the wrong direction. Congress was opening up huge new areas of the country to slavery. So Lincoln returned to politics. The man responsible for the Kansas-Nebraska Act was Senator Stephen Douglas from Illinois. Lincoln and Douglas had been rivals for years, ever since they were in the state legislature together. Douglas had become famous while Lincoln was still relatively unknown. Now Lincoln was eager to challenge him. Douglas, however, refused to set up a debate, so Lincoln followed him to an open-air speech in Springfield. Douglas defended the Kansas-Nebraska Act. He said that in America, people had the right to decide how they wanted to be governed. This meant that people of every state should be able to decide freely whether or not to allow slavery. But when Douglas had finished, Lincoln yelled to the crowd that tomorrow he would explain why Douglas was wrong. The next day, a huge audience gathered. Lincoln spoke for 3 hours. Wow. Douglas's arguments, he said, only made sense if you didn't think of blacks as people. Lincoln thought blacks should have the same right to decide about their lives as white people. He said that America had been founded on the belief that no man is good enough to govern another man without that other's consent, no matter what color the person was. And this is where Douglas and Lincoln were debating. Remember now, Lincoln was going to speak for 3 hours. Lincoln's speech made him famous. In 1854, he decided to run for Senate. He came very close but was not elected. In the meantime, the important issue of the day were breaking up the old political parties. There were many issues, but slavery was the one on everyone's mind. Many Democrats had left their party in anger over the Kansas-Nebraska Act. The Whigs, too, were split on the issue of slavery. Lincoln was no longer sure where he fit in. A new political party was being founded to fight slavery. Its members called themselves Republicans. Lincoln had been a loyal Whig all his life, but now he became a leader in the new party. Their first presidential candidate was the explorer and military leader John C. Fremont. Lincoln was almost chosen as the candidate for vice president, but he didn't quite make it. In any case, Fremont lost, and James Buchanan, who supported slavery, became president. Refusing to be discouraged, Lincoln challenged Douglas for his seat in the Senate. The Illinois Republicans nominated him unanimously. His acceptance speech was based on a quotation from the Bible. The phrase became one of his favorites: "A house divided against itself cannot stand." The United States, he said, could not continue as half free and half slave. Either slavery would end, or it would take over the whole country, or the country would be destroyed. And there's a picture of James Buchanan. So the next chapter, chapter 5, is called Mr. President. So you can kind of guess what happens for Abraham Lincoln. Well, I'm going to say goodbye. Good night.
Amen.